Hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the orientation for the Ateneo Law School admission test. But before we begin, we can pause for a brief prayer before we start our activity for this evening. We remember that we are in the most holy presence of God, in the name of the Father and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. So good evening again. My name is Ryan Kwan. I am from faculty member of the Ateneo Law School. I would be uh, uh, guiding you through the orientation for this evening pertaining to the Ateneo Law School's admission test. With me is another member of the faculty, Attorney Ronald Chua. I'll introduce our main presenter in a bit. But just before we go to the orientation proper, we'd like to request you to keep your microphones on mute as the presentation is going about. Soon after we will have an open forum where you can ask your questions and you would be allowed to unmute yourself or to ask your questions. Otherwise, the if you don't want to unmute yourself, or if you have burning questions already in mind, the chat box will be available for you to ask your questions. And after it will only be after the presentation where we will address the questions that you have. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce to you our presenter for this evening's orientation for the admission test. We have Mr. Anton Yap of the Ateneo Boletao Center for Psychological Services. He will make a presentation pertaining to the conduct and the expectations pertaining to the admission test. So this should be helpful, or we hope that this would be helpful for you as you to kind of ease also your ease the anxiety, if you will, as to what to prepare for the actual conduct of the exam. Obviously, what Mr. Yap will be talking to you about would only be pertaining to the conduct of the exam. Please do not ask him what the contents of the exam will be, because he will not answer those questions. Okay, so let's be clear about that. So again, I'll cede the floor to Anton, and we'll listen to his presentation. So thank you, Anton.
All right, thank you, Ryan, for the introduction. And I'll just share my presentation for now. And yes, please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, so again, I'm Anton. I'm the psychometrician who is in charge of the Ateneo Law School admission tests. And for my presentation, hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll have a better idea of how to prepare for your online admissions test, how to log in the testing platform on your scheduled exam time and date, and also taking the actual online LCT. Okay, so how to prepare for your online admissions test. So first off, you'll be receiving an informed consent form at least 5 days before your testing date. Please make sure to fill out this Google form, because this is the only way for you to receive the testing link. The testing link will be shared with you around 3 days before your scheduled test date. So again, if you do not fill out the informed consent form, we cannot send you the test link. So it's really crucial that you fill out the informed consent form so that we know how to reach you through email and provide you with your testing link. Oops, sorry. Afterwards, once you receive the link, you'll receive this, you'll be redirected rather to this website for you to check if your device meets the minimum requirements of the testing solution. So you can see here on this green part of the page, you can check your system compatibility, and you'll be able to confirm if that, oh sorry, I received feedback that the line is choppy. Is it the same for the rest?
Yeah, so it's a little bit erratic. How's your internet connection?
Okay, let me try to reconnect. Sorry. Hello? Audio check. How about now? Is it better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So let me just share my screen again. Yes, again, thank you for the feedback. If you have any comments about the quality, just let me know via the chat. So just to go back to the start, um, yes, so you'll receive a Google form for you to submit your informed consent form at least 5 days before your testing date. So please do ensure that you're able to submit this form ahead of time because this is where we will refer to the email that will provide the testing link. So if you don't fill out the informed consent form, we're not going to be able to send you the testing link. Sorry, hello. Okay.
I think it becomes choppy when you share. Would it be
Yeah.
possible to share with me the file and I can try to present so you can speak?
Okay. Sorry about that. Um, Christine, could you send me a link? Sorry, an email where I could send the file.
Yeah, sent it.
Okay, so you've sent the file. Hopefully, that resolves the issue. Sorry for the um, delays. Hopefully, that will resolve the problem that we have.
Wow, just waiting for it to arrive in my inbox.
While we're waiting, just a quick audio check so the quality is better now without the screen share.
Yes, Anton, and it may be your mic also. So,
Yeah,
uh,
possibly.
yeah, maybe adjust your mic and then I don't know if you lean forward closer to your screen, I think it's better.
Wait, you sent it to. Okay, got it. Let me just download it.
Thank you.
Give me a minute, I will open it and I will share the file.
Okay, so before I begin, I switched my headset. Just wanted to do an audio check again.
Yes, clear.
Yes. Hello, just wanted to do an audio check. Is this better?
Sorry, I got there. Yes, yes, it's clear. We can
Yes.
hear
Okay,
you.
thank you. All right, so take three. So again, please make sure to answer the informed consent form at least 5 days before your testing date. This is crucial because this is the only way for us to receive the email for us to send you the testing link. So if you do not fill out the informed consent form, we'll not be able to send you your testing link. Um, Next slide. Okay. And after you receive this email, please make sure to check if your electronic device meets the minimum requirements of the testing solution. So you can see here on the blue box, inside the blue box, there's a green box for check system compatibility. Once you click this, you'll be able to confirm if your computer or your laptop will be able to run the testing solution. Next slide. All right, and these are the technical requirements that you'll need to take note of for the testing solution. So first off, it has to be a computer desktop or laptop with any of the following operating system. So either Windows or Linux or iOS. Second, you'll need a working and properly configured webcam. This does not have to be an external camera. So if you have a laptop with a built-in webcam, that's okay. But if you have an external webcam, that's better as well. And same with the earphones and with the microphone. If your laptop has a built-in microphone already, that will do. But if you have an external set of earphones, headphones, may this be wireless or Bluetooth, that will work as well. And lastly, a relatively stable internet connection speed of at least 512 kilobytes. And we'll also send this link together with the rest of the information needed. It's speedtest.net. Next slide. Okay, and once you've confirmed that your device will be able to run the testing solution, you just need to conduct the speed test, use this website. Just click on go, and in around 15 to 30 seconds, you'll be able to confirm your internet speed. Next slide, please. Okay, third, download the Metal Secure browser application for Windows. So for Windows users, you have to download the application itself. But if you're a Mac or Linux user, you have to download a browser extension for Google Chrome. This will also be found together in the email, which will be sent ahead of your test schedule. So as much as possible, please try to cover all of these items as soon as you receive the email. Please avoid doing these on the day of the tests, just to avoid any complications or technical difficulties. If you encounter any issues, you may feel free to let us know by the email as well. Next slide. Okay, so this will be for the Windows users. So you have to install the Metal Secure Exam Browser. So will be what will pop up on your screen once you download the file. You just have to install the Metal Secure Browser, agree to the license terms, click on the shortcut icons, and then the browser itself will be launched. So this is going to be the browser where you will take the admissions test. And on the next slide will be for the Mac users. As mentioned earlier, this will be a Google Chrome extension. So you just have to click on Add Extension. See the extension icon on your browser for Metal. So it will be Metal share enable screen sharing. And when you open the test link on your test schedule, please make sure to enable screen sharing as well. So again, this is on Google Chrome. Metal tests enable screen sharing. Next slide. All right, so designate a place in your home or office as your testing room or testing area. Please make sure that your testing area is a private and or quiet room, and make sure it's also well lit and with no other person present in the same room or in the same area. As much as possible, please make sure that the place is free from distractions and free from noise. So if there's some unavoidable background noise, for example, barking dogs or you hear construction, it's best to do without it, but it won't be a concern. The best that you should avoid is having someone else audible in the same area as you, because this will be marked by our proctors. And please make sure that these personal items are kept away during the test. So these are including but not limited to calculators, dictionaries, cell phones, and other electronic devices, duplicate monitors or similar setups, and scratch papers as well. So if, for example, you're going to take the exam in a separate area outside your house, and you have your cell phone with you can just show us where you're going to put it inside your bag and show us where your bag is going to be, somewhere that you're not able to reach it during the test. So just make sure that they're kept away and that your test setup is limited to the things that you need. So that's the microphone, earphones, laptop, or computer. Next slide. Once you've cleared that, make sure that you also have a valid or government issued ID. Make sure you also have for fresh graduates your latest school ID on your test schedule. So these are some of the valid IDs that we accept, and do make sure that these are valid before the test itself. Just in case, for example, you only have your passport and it's already expired, then please do let us know ahead of time so that we know to let our proctors know this certain applicant only has a passport and it's expired, but he or she informed us ahead of time. So this will do. But it's of course it's best if you have your valid IDs ready ahead of time. Next slide. All right, so logging into the metal test platform itself. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, you'll be receiving an email on how to log in the metal test platform itself. So please log into the testing website 30 minutes before the scheduled test time by clicking on Start Test found in your email invitation. So this is where your valid ID will come into play because this is going to be the queue for the test administrator to let you in the test. Next slide. Okay, so before you share your valid ID, a reminder as well, please make sure that you close any other running applications except for the browser tabs and the email containing the test link. So if you have any other applications as well, I would recommend that you turn your laptop or your computer to do not disturb or mute all notifications just to avoid Metal detecting that you have another application running on your desktop or your laptop. I'll discuss this further in the following slides. Next slide. Okay, so this will be for Windows using the Metal Safe Exam browser. A dialog box will appear if you still have any other applications open. So again, for Windows, you have the Metal Secure browser. If you still have your Chrome open, your Firefox open, Metal will be able to detect that and you won't be able to proceed to the test itself. The test will only be active once the open applications have been closed. And again, if you click on launch test, but you have another application open, you'll receive an error prompt. Once all of these applications are closed, then you can click on launch test and you can begin the test the test navigation on the next part. Next slide. Okay, so for Mac, again, you'll be using a Google Chrome extension. So a new browser tab will be open. Please make sure to allow permission to use microphone and camera as well, like by clicking on the allow button on the prompt that you'll receive. Afterwards, select the proceed button. Also, please refrain from pressing F5 or the refresh button as this will refresh your tab. Next slide. Okay, so once the test has been loaded, please read the instructions and fill out the registration page. The registration page, for those who are not able to see the slide here, will contain your email address and your first name as well. It also contains some of the instructions that you need to take note of before you begin the test. So click on next to be redirected to the instruction page. Once you're done reading the instructions, click on proceed. And after you fill out the relevant details in the information boxes, you may click on next. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is where your valid ID and your camera will be needed. After filling out the registration page, you will proceed to the ID verification. So first off, please ensure that your face will be captured within the designated line. So for this part, make sure that your camera is pointed towards you and that you're in a well-lit place. And make sure that your face is within the white line before you click on the button here, capture your face. And if you're satisfied with that photo captured, you may click on next. Next slide. Similar to the photo that you'll be taking before you take the test, you also have to place your valid ID within the designated line once your camera is open. Click on the capture button. So here's the capture ID card, not capture your face. Apologies for that. And if your ID is captured clearly, you may click on submit. So at this point rather, please do make sure that the fields on your ID are clear. Otherwise, your proctor may instruct you to retake the form. So this is why you'll need to join the line early. So around 30 minutes in advance, just to make sure that the proctor is able to confirm your details before letting you in the test. Otherwise, you'll need to repeat taking your selfie and taking a photo of your ID over and over until the proctors confirm that the correct person is taking the test. Next slide. Okay, here. So wait for manual ID verification. So again, just in case there are some blurred information or only part of your face is captured or other concerns along those lines, you'll have to repeat the verification. You'll have to wait for your proctor to check your details before you can proceed to the exam itself. And you'll only be able to start the test after you finish the manual ID verification. Next slide. Okay, so that's how you can start to navigate Metal before you take the test. But for the online exam itself, these are the information that you'll need to take note of. Next slide. So your test will have three components. The first will be the critical thinking test, followed by the reading comprehension test, and lastly, the verbal analytical reasoning test. Next slide. Each of these tests have their own time allotment. So for test 1 critical thinking, you have 40 minutes. For test 2 reading comprehension, you have 45 minutes. And lastly, for verbal analytical reasoning, you have 40 minutes for a total of 2 hours and 5 minutes. So some of the common questions here, sorry, could you go back to the previous slide? Thank you. So some of the common questions here, are there any time limit per question? There won't be any time limit per question. The time limit will be for the entire test, entire subtest itself. So critical thinking will be for 40 minutes. If, for example, you take 13 minutes for critical thinking and have 10 minutes remaining, that will not be carried over to the following subtests. So you have 40, once you submit your critical thinking exam, you'll no longer be able to go back to that, and you won't be able to have another time allotment for that as well. So the 2 hours and 5 minutes is the maximum time that you can spend to answer the entire test. Next slide. Okay, so once you have been authorized proctor, you'll be redirected to the section instructions page. So for this part, this will not be included in the time allotment mentioned earlier. The test will automatically start 60 seconds after you load this page. But you may also click on Start Test once you've read the section instructions and would want to begin in advance. Next slide. Okay, so this will be an example of the view that you'll be having during the exam. On the left side will be the test prompt. So the question itself, the question prompt will be on the left. On the right side, you'll have the answer choices. So that's to choose the best option for the multiple choice questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, and D. And then on the upper right hand corner, you'll see the total time remaining that you have to finish each respective subtest. Next slide. Okay, so during the first subtest, your proctor will pause your test and notify you through the chat function to do an environment. The chat function will appear in the bottom right-hand corner. And if you have any questions or concerns that you want to raise to our proctor, you may find the chat function along this side as well. Please note that you may chat with your proctor at any time should you have any questions on how to proceed with the test. So for this part, please you can communicate with your proctor through chat and through microphone access, but you have to let the proctor know that you'll be speaking with him or her through the chat function. Also, the reverse communication will only be done through chat. So if the applicant can communicate with the proctor via microphone and chat, the proctor can only respond in chat function. So next slide. Okay, so again, we have a time allotment for test, but for the environment check, this will be one of the instances where your time allotment can be paused. And during this time, you'll have to show your electronic devices present and put them in the place where you cannot reach them. So the earlier example that I had was having a cell phone and put it in the bag and then putting it away and let the proctor know by showing them where you put your bag. And yeah, it's best to have that along the corner of the room, far from your testing desktop or your laptop. During the environment check as well, you'll have to slowly rotate your webcam 360 degrees to show your testing. Afterwards, you'll also have to show your working desk, which should be free of any unnecessary materials. So again, it was mentioned earlier during the initial reminders. To take note that you have to have a clean table during your test and have no other person with you in the room. And as much as possible, have your other gadgets and necessary materials away from you. This will be confirmed by the proctor by means of the environment check. So there won't be a specific time. For example, will it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the first subtest? Just do make sure that you'll be ready for the environment check. As we have a limited number of proctors, we'll be doing this manually per applicant. So there won't be any designated time when you will be called for the environment check. Just be ready to be called at any time. Next slide. Okay, once the environment check is finished, then you can proceed with the online ALSAT by trying your best to answer all the questions within the time limit. So again, similar to what was shared earlier, you don't have the question prompt on this photo, but on the right side, that will be where your options will be. After you answer a question, you may click on the next question, a blue button located in the lower right corner of the page. So you can see that here on the inside the blue box. Next slide. Okay, so we also have a revisit function, which you can use during the test so that you can mark specific items that you want to review before you finish the subtest. So again, if you're already answering reading comprehension, you can't go back to the critical thinking test. But if, for example, you finished item 40 and you want to go back to number 25, you can mark number 25 by clicking on the revisit button. And you can also click here on the upper right, you'll see your progress in a particular subset. There's going to be a count of all of the questions that you answered, revisited, attempted, and all of the questions in total. So in black is a list of all the questions. The questions that you selected revisit will appear in orange. attempted questions will appear in blue, and unattempted questions will appear in gray. So again, do make sure you go back to revisit before you click on Finish section. Next slide. Okay, so this is one of the things you need to take note of. Once you finish all of the questions in the subset, please make sure that you click on Next section on the bottom lower right, not on Finish Test on the upper right. If you finish test, that means you're going to submit only the first part of your test. You won't be able to answer the second and third subtest. However, if you click on Next section, that's your cue to proceed to the next part of the test. So please take note, you click on Next section and not on Finish test. Next slide. There, you only click on Finish test once you answer all of the questions in the last subtest. So it's during the VAR test where you click on Finish test at the very end. Next slide. Okay, so again, throughout the test, your camera will be open and the proctors will have access and be able to view your camera. If for any reason you're caught to be away from your screen, looking away from your screen, if any other person is detected in the room, you have a mobile or other device, or you're engaging in any other activity during the session, the testing solution will be able to detect all of this. At that point, you will receive a warning, and after repeated issues, you may be disallowed from continuing with the examination. Results will be withheld, and an investigation will be completed based on the issues raised by the testing solution. Otherwise, the invigilator can also suspect any other behavior and have permission to terminate the examination immediately. So I have a question here in the chat. Will there be any allotment for breaks within the test, between the test? There will be no allotment for any break. As much as possible, please make sure to take your bathroom breaks at before the start of the test. Again, because if you take a break, your time will not be paused and the testing solution will detect that you are awake. But of course, understandably, there are going to be instances where it cannot be avoided. So if you really do need to go to the bathroom during the test, please do make sure to let your proctor or instructor know so that they are aware of what's going on with a certain applicant. Other questions here. If you look at the keyboard of our laptop, will that be counted as suspicious movement? It is possible for you to be marked as looking away from your screen if you spend an extended amount of time looking down at your screen. Again, it's not necessarily every single instance will be counted by the proctor. We're going to check with you if, for example, we notice that you've been looking down over and over again. Maybe we'd have the environment check done just to make sure there's no paper involved, there's no device involved. Check with you since we will receive a warning on what's going on, and we'll have a copy of the video ready as well, so we can backtrack. Why is Metal raising a particular issue with this specific person? Okay, so I'm starting to receive more and more questions here in the chat. I'll reserve this for the Q&A, but those are some of the common questions that we have received in the past. Another item here, can I inform the proctor that I have to take my medication? Yes, of course you may do so. You can eat during the test, you can drink water during the test, and yes, the medication will be allowed. I would suggest to have this already prepared on top of your desk rather than having to go to your bag. Yeah, that will be a higher risk of suspicion for other tasks and activities. So make sure you have this ready with you before you start the test. Okay. Again, I'll go back to other questions at the Q&A portion. Next slide. Okay, so before you finally submit your test, after you finish all the subtests, you may click on Yes, Finish Test to formally submit your test. So once you click on finish test, you'll be receiving this prompt. Are you sure you want to finish the test? After you click on yes, finish test, that's when all of your entries and responses will be uploaded to Metal and you can no longer go back to the test. You'll also have um, a bar view here of section 1. How many items did you respond to and how many items do you need to respond? Yeah, summary of the attempts in this test as shown below. Next slide. Okay, so if you have any other questions, you may feel free to send them in the chat. I'll try to go through this one by one. Unless I've responded to it earlier, then I'm going to skip the question. Will there be an area designated as a scratch paper for notes on the test? There won't be an area for scratch paper or notes. However, there will be a calculator on the testing solution. Will we be allowed to drink water during the test? Yes, this will be allowed, but of course, try to do this as quickly as you can, not to rush you, but again, the testing solution will detect that you're looking away. So that's going to be part of the possible flags that you'll receive for a specific applicant. May I ask if it will be flagged if you read our passages out loud for ourselves? Thank you. Yes, that will be possible, but again, we'll check back with you. Possibly, if I have encountered a similar case before, I would just have to send a reminder and conduct another environment check. So again, we will receive flags, but just because it's flagged, it's not automatically a stoppage of the test or disqualification of the test. We'll always remind you, and in case it's happening too frequently or too elaborately, then we'll have to ask you to stop. So those are the possible scenarios that you will have to be aware of. Other questions? If an examinee decided to stretch his or her neck, would that be counted as suspicious activity? Again, for the testing platform, it will be possible. But again, the proctor can review the video and confirm, is there any other suspicious activity or was it just simple stretching during the test? How many items per set? I will not be allowed to divulge that information. I believe the recording and slide will be sent. Christy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Depends on attorney Ryan. Sorry, I don't know.
Okay.
Yes. He said we
Yeah,
can
I
provide.
saw a thumbs up. Okay, so the recording and the slides will be shared. Where can we find the informed consent form? That will be sent to you around 5 days before your scheduled exam date. Okay, I have a question here. What should we do if our laptop crashes mid-exam? So in that case, if you do encounter a technical difficulty, like your laptop crashing mid-exam, that's another instance where we can pause your timer for a specific subtest. But please do ensure that you're able to let us know via email. Unless the chat function in Metal isn't functioning, you can let us know via email. And we'll also be able to detect that, for example, this applicant disappeared for a certain amount of time. We can check in with you as well. Of course, if your laptop already crashed, it might be difficult for you to get back to us. So we'll be informed of that as well. That an applicant isn't on the testing website. When will we receive the Zoom link for the exam? There will be no Zoom link for the exam. The camera and the video will be captured by Metal itself. So the testing platform that you'll be downloading or the test extension that you'll be downloading, that's where the audio and the video will be captured. And okay, I received feedback. There was a bit of static earlier. Yes, you're allowed to eat snacks and drink water during the test. Okay, another question here about dual monitor setup. Again, this will not be allowed during the exam, as Metal will need to have access to only one desktop. If you have another desktop active, this will be detected by the system and you will be flagged for using another screen. Again, when will the test link be sent? This will be around 3 days before your scheduled exam date, assuming that you have already accomplish the informed consent form. So again, please do take note, you have to submit the informed consent form for you to receive the testing link. I have a question here about the exam permit. For medical purposes, this will not be um, required or be checked during before the test itself, but for the rest of the ALS team, will this be needed to be printed out and scanned?
Anton, no need. The exam permit that's sent to them is just for purposes of reminders. So whatever bulletao will require them, that would be it.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Ryan. So again, no need to print out the exam permit. The requirements from the Balato Center will be the valid ID and your photo before the exam. So again, you'll only be able to access the test itself after the manual ID verification, where we match your photo and your valid ID with the test details you provided earlier. Is it okay to use both built-in speakers and mic instead of earphones? Yes. So as long as your device has a built-in speaker and a built-in microphone, that will do. Same goes for mouse and keyboard. If you have an external device, of course, that's understandable. Just make sure to show that during the environment check as well. Is there a test to check whether Metal will detect apps running in the background? Yes. So I shared on the screenshot earlier, the browser will not open if this is for Windows. If you have any other applications open, then the Metal Secure browser will not open. Same for the Chrome extension, it will detect which apps are currently open and ask you to close them. So again, you can only have your email open if you're using Mac. Regarding the bathroom break, no, you will not be disqualified. You just have to let your proctor know that you need to take a bathroom break. There will be no tutorial on how to utilize the calculator. Just take note that it will be a simple calculator. So it will only have the basic operations and no other functions like a scientific calculator has. Okay, so there's a concern here about struggling to keep my eyes focused just in one spot. So again, for this part, it's okay to look within the vicinity of your screen. So if you look around 30 degrees away or 120 degrees away, that's the time when Meta will think, okay, this participant is looking somewhere else. But you don't need to focus entirely on one point of the screen, just one point of the screen. Just stay within the allowed screen, as within the provided screen rather, and try not to look away from the border. Maybe that would be a general rule or general rule of thumb that you can keep in mind. Um, Again, relaying this to the ALS team, will there be more test dates added, or do we only have the one we are given?
Um, Exam schedules are assigned by the admissions office. Um, Generally, there are obviously multiple exam schedules. Rescheduling is highly discouraged because there are limited slots. If we allow everyone just to reschedule, it won't fit everyone who applied. In very meritorious cases, it can be rescheduled, but it requires submission of proof. They just have to if ever they just have to write a letter and send it to the admissions email. It's admissions.law at ateneo.edu. I'll put it in the chat box. Every case will be treated request for rescheduling may be approved or denied. Each case will be treated on a case-to-case basis. There. Thank you, Anton.
Okay, thank you. We also have some questions here about who you can reach out to in case of any technical difficulties. And in case the valid ID is already expired, so you can reach out to me, Anton, using this email rather, gradadmissionstesting at ateneo.edu. I've sent this via the chat. Going back to other questions here. Are we allowed to backtrack certain questions per section? Yes, you are allowed to. You can also select the revisit option earlier. So if, for example, you're not sure of the specific item, you can click on revisit so that at the end of the test, you know that you skipped a certain item. For example, item 25 is marked as revisit. You're allowed to backtrack as long as you're in the same section. So again, once you go to the next test, so for example, from the critical thinking test, you move on to reading comprehension. You can only review the items for reading comprehension. You can't go back to the critical thinking test anymore. I have another camera connected on my laptop. Will this detect a violation if hindi masyadong proportional ang setup? No, that won't be an issue. Just make sure that you are visible. The priority here is going to be you're visible throughout the duration of the test. So if you're using an external camera or a built-in camera, either will do. And of course, if there's any issue with the hardware, we're going to see that as well. You're adjusting your camera, you're adjusting your earphones, your microphone, and we'll get back to you on any issues. What is the name of the exam software? It's Metal, METTL. Where can we send an email if ever we get disconnected? So it's the same email I just sent, the gradadmissions at ateneo.edu. I have a question. Let's say nawala yung Wi-Fi connection. Is there any chance for the admission office to give her consideration regarding the said matter? So, Attorney Ryan, I believe these are the times where we'll have to ask him to send an email or reschedule in case that there's really no connection.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we can only place our details into the test extension 30 minutes prior to the exam. Yes, that is correct. So if you're scheduled to have your exam at 8:30 in the morning, you can log in as early as 8 a.m. If you're scheduled to have it at 1:30, you can log in at 1. Hi, sir. If ever we encounter a number of technical difficulties, is there a limit to the number of times you can re-enter and take the exam? There should be no limit to this. But we would suggest that you let us know that you're experiencing certain difficulties. Again, your time will be running and we can only pause your time as much as we can. We wouldn't want to we wouldn't want you to take the exam until beyond the scheduled time just because of allowing you to resolve your technical difficulties. Are we allowed to wear watches? Yes, you can wear watches, but please do not wear any smartwatch. Online notepads and online calculators will not be allowed. Those will be considered as opening another website or another browser during the test or using another application rather. On the off chance our laptop crashes or our Wi-Fi stops working, what will happen to our test? So if you're disconnected from the platform itself, then automatically your time will be paused. However, if, for example, you're experiencing lag, your time will continue to run and you'll stay on the same item that you're trying to answer. But for example, if you lose your connection entirely, then that's when the proctor will be informed, okay, one of the applicants got disconnected. At that point, we have a queue. Okay, you need to watch out for this applicant. Maybe we need to reach out to this applicant. Or possibly, yeah, as mentioned earlier, maybe it's best to reschedule. Is using a mobile hotspot a secure source of internet? I would prefer to have this as your backup. So in case your primary Wi-Fi or internet connection fails, then that's when you can use your mobile hotspot. Is it okay to send the informed consent as soon as it was sent to our email? Yes, of course. The sooner that you can accomplish the required pre-test deliverables, then the better. But of course, we're going to stick with the same timeline. You'll receive the informed consent around 5 days before the test. You'll receive the test link around 3 days before the test. But as much as possible, do accomplish the deliverables as soon as you can. Will the system detect if I am charging my laptop and flag it as suspicious activity? No. Actually, I've had some experiences where the applicants would tell me I need to charge my laptop. That's okay. It won't be marked as another application or you're trying to open another browser or anything like that. Um, if you would prefer, you can let us know that you'll be charging your laptop, especially if you need to get it from your bag. But again, as much as possible, have all of your necessary items with you as early as the test login. There is no built-in notepad or scratch paper. So again, you'll only have a calculator. You won't have any notepad or other scratch paper with you. Next question. If you fail to click the finish button in time, will the exam be automatically submitted regardless? Yes. So if you exceed the 40 minutes, sorry, once you reach 40 minutes, regardless if you're finished or not, your responses will be submitted to Metal and you'll be proceeding to the next part of the admissions test. There will be no trial run the days leading to the exam. However, what you will need to do is accomplish the um, device checks and the informed consent. Okay, so if your valid ID was not in the list I provided, then you can again send an email to the grad admissions at ateneo.edu. Then let us know what valid ID you have so that we know ahead of time this is what ID we can expect from this applicant. Otherwise, if you send us an ID that's not included in the list, we'll spend some extra time having confirmed with you if you have any of the provided IDs in the slide earlier. When we click the test link, is it going to proceed to checking of IDs? Yes. So you're going to use the same link for the checking of IDs. So if I use the Zoom meeting room, for example, earlier you were all in the waiting room. So that's similar to how we select who can we admit to the Zoom meeting already. So if we see that your ID is correct, your selfie is clear, then we can let you in the room. Similar to Metal, once you've confirmed all those details, that's the only time we let you into the test. Can I use my iPhone as my camera for my mask desktop? No, you would have to use the built-in camera of your computer or your laptop. If I finish a section early, the time will not be consumed. Oh, sorry, if I finish a section early, will the time I did not consume be carried over? No, it will not. So if we have 40 minutes for the first test and you finish in 30, you will not have an additional 10 minutes for the remainder of the other two parts. So the 40 minutes will be for your answering and for your review. Once you move to the next part and you have any remaining time, that time allotment will be forfeited. Um, you're not going to know the identity of the proctors. However, uh, it will be assigned to you on method. That's the only time that you'll be interacting with the proctor during the test administration day itself. The entire exam will take 2 hours and 5 minutes, assuming that you maximize the 40 minutes, the 45 minutes, and the other 40 minutes. Can the system scan my face accurately if my laptop camera is of low quality? I think that will be up to the discretion of the test administrator. So I've had experiences when I asked some participants to retake the photo, and I received around the same quality photos. And that's when I understood, okay, this is the maximum capability of the photo, of the camera rather. So It was my own judgment if I would accept the photo or not. But of course, regardless of the quality of the pixels of the camera, as long as it's functional, and then that's when we can base if it will be okay or not. Okay, again, so there is no notepad, but there will be a calculator on the testing site. If you have any glare or reflection with your eyeglasses, that won't be an issue. Okay, about the bags and the gadgets. So if you have a bag with you, then that's okay. Just make sure that it's not anywhere that you can reach it. So for example, if you're taking your test on a table, have your bag on the opposite corner of your room. Um, just make sure it's not below the table, below your chair, because that's going to be part of the environment test. And that's going to be flagged by the proctor if it's anywhere near you. For the revisit option, yes, you can put a temporary answer and change it after. So the revisit option is just a flag or a tagging for the system to know that you wanted to go back to this option, to this question rather. Can we change our answers if we have time to revisit? Yes, of course you may. Um, I think back to the ALS teams, will the interviews be face to face or online?
There is no information as to this matter yet. That will be available around the time that the exam results are given. The exam results are usually given at around usually around towards the end of April.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have a lot more questions here. So sorry if I missed it, but do we have to download Metal? Yes, you have to download Metal. So it's either going to be a browser for Windows users or a Google Chrome extension for Mac or Linux users. Sir, I'm docking my laptop on the side. My laptop's built-in camera will be the one that I'm going to use. Yes. So again, no need for you to have an external webcam or external headphones or microphone if the device has a built-in functionality already. Who should we email if we are unable to get the exam link 3 days prior our schedule? You can also refer to the same email, gradadmissions@ateneo.edu. The total duration of the test, again, will be 2 hours and 5 minutes if you maximize the time allotment per subtest. Okay, so I think Sir Ryan sent the email of the admissions for ALS. I have some questions here regarding admission requirements. So I think it's best if you send them an email instead, since I won't be able to answer those kinds of questions.
The admissions related questions and the financial aid related questions, you can put them in the general chat box so that Anton won't be burdened in answering this. Either myself or Attorney Chua would be able to address these questions, but please put them in the general chat box so that Anton won't have to read each and every one of them. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, again, you can send it via the general chat, but for now, I'll be answering questions directly related to the testing software. Do we need to send proof that we lost our internet connection? Not necessarily any proof, but again, your proctor will be able to detect that you are currently disconnected. So that's enough for us to know that you're away from the testing set. And the same goes if you experience a power outage, it's going to be the same prompt for the proctor. Is there a dress code to be followed? Yes, it's still best to follow proper dress code, even though you're taking the test from home. National ID is allowed as a valid ID. Okay, I do not have a built-in camera in my desktop. Do I need to purchase a new external camera? Okay, so the concern with this one, I would say yes, you would need an external camera because again, it's going to be your Mac that will have the testing software. And it, I'm not sure if Google Chrome will detect your iPhone as your camera since it's going to be an external, not connected device. So you could double check this during the um, system compatibility check. But as of now, I have not encountered anyone using their iPhone as an external camera. But I would say it's not allowed based on my previous experiences with metal. Are there other subtests in the exam aside from the ones mentioned a while ago? No. So there's only going to be three subtests. So critical thinking, reading comprehension, and verbal analytical reasoning. If I am unable to submit my exam due to technical difficulties, will it automatically be saved and submitted? It will be saved, but it will only be submitted once you reach the end of the time allotment for the test. If there are some car noises, then that's okay. So those are out of our control. Again, what we would want to avoid the most is hearing any other person or seeing that you're in contact with any other person during the time of the test. Again, the link for Metal will be shared after you submit the informed consent form. So even if you're able to download Metal in advance, you'll have to refer to the link to the specific link rather that we'll be sharing with you 3 days before the scheduled test. Okay, so this one is for the admissions team. Can the admissions fee be waived for those applying for student aid or scholarship?
Sige, Anton, can you skip the admissions and
Okay,
financial questions first and then finish
okay.
all test questions?
Okay, so there are some questions here as well about how many items or difficulty of the question. So for those, again, I will opt not to disclose the information regarding these questions. Is it okay to have my camera at my side 45 degrees? Um, Better if it's directly in front of you. Okay, so earlier I mentioned it's best to stay within the vicinity of your screen when you're looking somewhere else. So I'm just concerned that if it's 45 degrees, it's going to detect differently. So maybe you're not looking away, but because of the angle of the camera, the system will detect you're looking away. So those are the types of issues that I think we can do without if your camera is directly in front of you rather than beside you. So again, the test will be automatically submitted after the time allotment. And yes, there will be a calculator in Metal. Will we be penalized if we're not able to begin immediately during the designated time? I believe there's no penalty for this, but again, you will have less time to finish the test. So again, the test duration is only 4 hours in total. So you have to finish the test within that time frame. Are earphones required even if my laptop mic is working properly? That will be for your preference. So if you'd want to use earphones, even though you have a built-in microphone, it's up to you, but it won't be required. An ultra-wide monitor will be allowed during the exam. Will this kind of setup mark me as suspicious if I look on one end of the monitor when I need to click to the next section? I would say this is possible. Probably it would be best not to use the ultra-wide monitor just to avoid this type of concern. So even though, again, you are looking within the vicinity of your screen, Metal might detect that this is unusual activity since more of the users of the test don't use an ultrawide monitor. So I think that would be my input for that one. What would be the dress code when taking the exam? I think smart casual would do. Again, just make sure that you are presentable during the test, even though you're taking from home. Hi, sir. Will Metal detect my headphones as having a background app? It requires an app for it to run like Synapse. So I'm honestly not familiar with how this works. But again, since this is going to be open at the same time during the test, Metal will detect that you have another application open. So if possible, just use your built-in earphones and microphone. Otherwise, I would suggest to use a different set of headphones instead. Again, yes, it's possible to replay or rewatch this orientation. We'll also be sharing the presentation deck with you. And I think that's pretty much it for the metal-related questions. How does metal detect video card software like NVIDIA GeForce? From my understanding, yes, it will detect that it is open at the time of the test. So if it is possible for you to close this during the duration of the test, then much better. Bluetooth headphones, is that considered a different app since I have to connect my headphones via Bluetooth? From how I understand it, you don't need to open another application to connect to those headphones. Well, you'll be connecting to control panel or the Windows settings probably, but I think that's better than using an external application altogether, like the earlier example for Synapse, since that's a separate application in itself. No, you will not be flagged if you use your fingers to count during the exam. Probably you will be flagged if you look away for too long. Birth certificate is not allowed as a valid ID. My laptop camera is usually mirrored, so should we put it as unmirrored beforehand so that our IDs will be more readable? Yes, I would suggest to do that. So if you already know that your photo will be mirrored, then you can untick that option before you take your valid ID photo. During the test, can I wear earbuds to block out the noise during the day? This would connect via Bluetooth. It won't be detected and it is allowed. So again, it's only going to be detected if you open another application while you're answering the test. Any other questions from the group? Okay, so I think for now, if there's any other questions, you can continue to put them in the chat, but maybe we can proceed with the admissions and scholarship related questions for now.
Thank you so much, Anton. Anton will continue to answer questions related to the exam platform, to Metal, and the processes related to the conduct of the admissions test, which will begin in 2 weeks' time, thereabouts. But yeah, yeah, there's a question about valid IDs. Anton will get to you about that. So if there are other related questions to admissions, we can take a bit of time to answer some of them, including those related to financial aid requirements. Attorney Chua would be happy to answer those questions. So yeah, if there are burning questions pertaining to admissions and or financial aid requirements, we will be happy to answer that. Can the admissions fee be waived for those applying for student aid and scholarship? No, there is no such waiver. There is no such waiver currently in place. So that's not part of the financial aid things. To clarify, will the test dates be will the test dates be automatically assigned? Yes, you cannot choose you cannot choose the application the examination dates as you may have read in the admissions page. It is the admissions committee that assigns the admissions office and committee that assigns the examination date. So yeah, there because of this is because of the limited slots that can be allowed per per examination time slot. If I may ask, when will be the start of term one? If you mean the first semester? The first semester for first year students begin in July, around second or third week of around mid-July usually because of introduction to law. So if admitted, you are expected to be available at the earliest by the second week of July thereabouts, and the introduction to law course will begin by then. Um, Anton might be able to answer this or not answer this. What does the critical thinking section entail? Is this similar to the LSAT's logical reasoning? I have no idea.
I would rather not disclose the answer
Okay.
to that
Yeah,
type of question.
I think that's
But I think if you'd want to refer to that, then you may do so, just for review purposes. But I would rather not disclose the specifics to the actual test types.
right. Thank you, Anton. Last latest date of the exam. There is no. I think it should be the 20th of April. If that is in the that is in the admissions website. I will put in the admission. I will put in the chat box the admission site. A lot of the answers are here to your questions. Yeah, it should be until around the 20th of April, if I am not mistaken. Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Let me check if I missed anything. Uh I am expected to graduate by the end of July. Will this be a problem, especially for entrance credentials? Not really. What will be more important pertaining to your graduation, pertaining to your graduation is the date of graduation that will be indicated in your final transcript of records. So this is not something that Ateneo can answer for you. You may have to inquire with your registrar's office regarding the date of graduation that will be indicated in your final transcript of records after you complete all your courses. Okay. What date is required? The latest that the date of graduation that will be indicated in your transcript of records, again, after you finish all your courses, your final transcript of records, final grade, the date of graduation indicated must be on or before July 31, 2024. Again, on or before July 31, 2024, regardless of when your last class is. What is important is date of graduation indicated in your final transcript of records. Now, if your date of graduation in the final transcript of records would be after July 31, you may not be eligible to enroll for the first semester for the coming school year, even assuming that you pass the entrance exam. Okay, again, for you to be after passing, let me clarify, for purposes of taking the exam, that's not a problem. The date of graduation indicated in the final transcript of records, however, would be determinative of your eligibility to enroll for the coming school year. To repeat, the date of graduation indicated in your final transcript of records must be on or before July 31, 2024. Where can I email my inquiries regarding AUA grants? It's finaid.law. I will put it in the chat box. Finaid.law at ateneo.edu.
Yes, right. And that will also be flashed in my presentation later.
Oh, okay. Um, Yeah, I'll answer first a couple more questions and then we'll proceed to Attorney Ron Chua pertaining to admission to financial aid matters so that we don't take a long time. Um is there an expected release date for release of results end of typically around the end of April, if not the beginning of March? Um would it still
Sorry,
be
right. That's the beginning of May, not March.
sorry, beginning of May. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. Again, towards the end of April or the beginning of May. Would it be possible to apply for financial aid after the results are out? Let's wait for the presentation. Will there be an admission interview after the exam? It depends. It depends on your qualifications. Okay. Um, I have taken less than 12 units of English courses during college. Will this affect our chances of getting admitted? Not really. However, if you are accepted, if you don't have at least 12 units of English currently, you are still allowed to take the exam and to apply and take the exam. If you are admitted later on, admitted applicants with missing units are typically given a period of time upon commencement of studies at the law school at Ateneo to complete the missing units. The particular dates and the particular dates will be, or the particular details pertaining to this would be handled by the registrar's office. I would just like to confirm if a graduate of any four-year course is eligible for admission. Yes, any undergraduate degree, regardless of major. So it's either a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science program. Will the admission interview on will the admission interview be online or on-site? There is no information yet. You will be informed uh once the results are out towards the end of April or early May. Okay. I will stop there for a moment and answer some more questions in the chat, but I will turn the floor over first to Attorney Ron Chua, who will discuss with you financial aid related matters. Ron?
Okay, thank you, Ryan. I will share my screen. This will be a very, very short presentation. Okay, so I will be discussing the financial aid program. So for today, the presentation is divided into four parts. The first is what is offered. Second, who are qualified. Third, what are your duties and obligations? And the fourth, how do you apply? So for what is offered, Ateneo's investment in your dream, we are committed to our vision of forming leaders imbued with a burning passion for justice and the desire to serve the nation for the greater glory of God. And that is why there are basically three different available aids. First is the special or the flexible payment arrangements. So for example, if you are unable to pay during the designated time, then a special or a more flexible payment arrangements can be made. Second is the grant of full or partial tuition scholarship. This is further divided into two. For your purposes, you may be more interested in the aid upon admission scholarship, because this is made available to incoming students. But we also have the regular cycle scholarship, which is available to all students in the law school. And lastly, we also grant book allowances. So who are qualified to apply? Well, I will discuss the second item here first because that was the part of the question earlier. You are required, or for you to be qualified, you should be admitted to the law school. So basically, you should pass the exam first before you are qualified to apply for financial aid. I will also inform you this early that your admission to the law school will not be affected in any way if you apply or you do not apply for financial aid. Okay. So the qualification, because this financial aid is both an a merit and a need-based scholarship, and therefore you are required, or for you to be qualified, you should have financial need. So you should be able to demonstrate this by submitting the required documents to show financial need. For the merit part of the qualification, both your past academic records and future academic standing will be considered. So for past academic performance, if you graduated with honors or you were cited for your community service, that will be considered. And for academic performance in the future, you should commit to enroll in Ateneo Law School. You should, or you cannot drop any subject, and you should carry the regular full load. You cannot be an irregular student. And lastly, you should have a clean and exemplary record. So you cannot have any disciplinary cases against you. What are the attached duties and obligations to the award? As I mentioned earlier, you should commit to enroll and complete at least the first semester in Ateneo. The scholarship or the financial aid is granted on a per semester basis. There is a need for you to show continued actual need and maintain a high scholastic and moral standard. So for the first semester, you should at least pass all your subjects and have a GWA of 82 if you were granted a partial scholarship, and a minimum of 85 average for a full scholarship. Again, you should be a full-time student, meaning that you should carry a regular load. It does not mean that you cannot work, and must be in good standing. Again, no disciplinary cases against you. And that is why compliance with the code of conduct is important. There should be no condition that would lead to the disqualification from sitting for the bar examinations or taking the lawyer's oath. Demonstrated characteristics of integrity, candor, and fairness is required. So make sure that you review the student handbook should you be granted the financial aid, for you to know all of the requirements for you to maintain your scholarship grant. Also, if you are granted the financial aid or scholarship, if there are any changes in your circumstances, you should inform the financial aid committee within 5 days from any changes. No? So for example, if your financial situation improved Let us say, for example, you were granted another scholarship, or maybe a relative gave you a big donation, or you win the lottery, then you should inform the financial aid committee. For academic standing, should you be thinking of dropping any of your subject, then again, you have to inform the financial aid committee, because as mentioned earlier, you are required to carry a full load if you are granted a financial aid. If there are cases filed against you, then you have to inform the committee right away. It does not mean that the financial aid will be withdrawn, but we will definitely follow what will happen to the case that was filed against you. If there are any changes in your address or contact information, then you have to inform the financial aid committee again within 5 days. And if there are any medical issues that may affect your status as a full-time law student, again, inform the financial aid committee. How do you apply? For the special or flexible payment arrangements, you just have to write a letter addressed to the office of the dean, explain your circumstances, and then we will help you endorse the matter to the office of the vice president for finance and the treasurer of the university. For the grant of book allowance and for the aid upon admission, you should submit your financial aid application with all supporting documents and the personal statement by the 29th of February 2024. So here you should explain why you need the financial aid and what are your motivations and plans. So, for example, do you have a burning passion for justice? Do you intend or desire to serve the nation? Just a reminder, this is going to be a formal written submission that includes your personal statement, and therefore grammar and syntax matters. Sorry. So, sorry, there you go. Make sure that you use the same email address as your admissions application, so we can track your financial aid application. And then shortlisted applicants may be contacted for an interview. What can be proof of your financial situation? You can submit the income tax return that was filed. If you are already working, then you submit your own. If not, then you submit the income tax return of your parents or the person who is supporting you. Okay. So if you are already married, then you are supposed to submit the income tax return of your spouse as well. Transcript of records for us to be able to review your academic performance. And in the application, we just compiled here the frequent errors that were committed in previous years. So for year level, then for those that are taking the admission exam now, you should choose prospective student. Because some will choose first year. Not yet. That will be for admitted students already. So you choose prospective student. For academic year and semester, what you should choose is for school year 2024 to 2025 and first semester. Again, for the email address, since you are a prospective student, then you should use the same email address used in your admissions application. Because prior to your admission, you don't have an OBF email yet. Make sure that you observe proper capitalization. Do not write in all capital letters, and make sure that you provide accurate information. You are not supposed to leave any items blank as well. For example, for real and personal properties, all of us do have something to report. So what are cited here are your gadgets, accessories, clothes. Then you should include that in your application. Of course, you did not put the price for each of the item you have. It is just an estimate of all the items that you own. Another frequent error is not providing any supporting documents. So if you are required to submit a supporting document, then you submit it. If not, if you are unable to get it on time, then at the very least, you have to explain why you do not have the documents requested. And for the personal statement, make sure that you take full advantage of the personal statement because for some, their records do not tell an accurate story. This is your chance for us to know you better. So for any questions, you can visit this website and also the financial FinAid email address that was shared by Ryan in the chat box. So I will stop share. And if you have any questions, please do let us know by typing in the chat box and we will be glad to answer them. Well, there's a question. Well, if you can also just type in the general chat box unless you specifically want to let me see your message only. No? Do not send a direct message so other participants can see it also. I am still an undergraduate in my current college and my TOR is not yet available before the deadline of February 29. Can I submit an alternative document such as a true copy of grades? Yes, the answer there is yes. You submit the latest, no? So including the last semester that you've already completed. Will there be a need for recommendation letters for financial aid? The answer there is no. No need for recommendation letters. As long as you complete the application and then attach all the supporting documents, then that should be enough. To clarify po, only those applying for financial aid need to submit a personal statement. Well, for purposes of financial aid, yes, but your application, you also submitted a personal statement there.
No, for the application, there's no personal statement required. Just for
You removed it. Okay.
yes.
Okay. So the answer there is yes. If you are applying for financial aid, then that's the only time that you need to submit a personal statement. Will I be sharing the slide? Well, that will be include. You can see the slide in the link that will be provided. Oops.
I received the message about the personal statement. You only need to submit a personal statement if you are applying for financial aid. Application the application for for admission itself does not require an a personal statement.
Okay. So good evening. You mentioned something about submitting an income statement if we're currently working. May I ask po if we're allowed to continue working while in law school in case admitted? Again, the answer there is yes. And even if the financial aid will require you to carry a full load and will tag you as a full-time student, it does not mean that you cannot work. But again, you have to manage your time very well. I encountered some students who continued working and was not able to perform well in law school. So it depends on you whether you can uh, do both. I would like to ask regarding the income tax return, would it be possible to declare your sponsors rather than estranged parents since they will not be financing my education? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, the ITR will be of yourself if you are working, of your parents if they are the ones supporting you, or of the person who is supporting you. Do I have to redo my FinAid application since I have already submitted if I use a different email to the one I used in the admissions application? I will advise you yes, because again, we may not be able to match your FinAid application to your admissions application. Thank you, thank you. What are the requirements po if my parents that are not receiving income? Well, again, if they are retired, then you have to just indicate that they are retired, and if they are receiving pension, then you also have to indicate that. Are we still required to submit our proof of income even when we're planning to resign by the time classes start? Again, if you are applying for financial aid, yes. I think those are all the questions I see. Well, yeah, there's a new one here. My parents will only be receiving their ITR for 2023 this coming April. You just have to submit the latest one. So, because some have submitted, or by the time that you apply already submitted their ITR for the previous year, then submit that one. So submit the latest file. Can I input a value of 0 if I don't own any land home? Yes, but again, you just don't put 0 in all, no? Because as mentioned earlier, most, if not all of you, will have gadgets, and you should include that in your application. So I don't see any more questions, right?
This was sent to me. I think better for you to address this. Can I apply for financial aid after the results are out?
No, because again, if you intend to, well, the answer there is yes if you are applying for under the regular cycle. If you are applying for aid upon admission, then the deadline is the 29th of February.
Okay. Last call for questions might be. Um,
Are the requirements the same for regular? Yes. The only advantage of AUA is that incoming students will already be considered for AUA. And if you are not granted under AUA, then you can still choose to apply under the regular cycle. So you can be considered twice. Would it be possible po to submit an appeal in the case that my AUA financial aid application is not granted? Or will have a regular cycle? Well, again, if you are not fortunate enough to get an AUA, then your application will be considered under the regular cycle program. We will be sending you an email, and you just have to indicate there that you also want you still want to be considered for under the regular cycle. Okay, well, for the financial aid, both for the AUA and regular cycle, you can get as much as 100% financial aid, and therefore you can actually graduate from Ateneo Law School without spending a single centavo, as long as you are able to maintain the requirements and you can continue receiving the financial aid.
Ron,
What
there's
could
a question here. Will there be an allowance for AUA? I guess this pertains to book allowance and stipend and whatnot.
Yeah, well, the answer to there is you can be granted both. There is a possibility for you to be granted both the AUA, which is for full tuition and fees, and also book allowance. Could be an alternative of income tax for OFW parents. Well, they send their payslip or their contract. Regarding the recommenders, can it be two of my former employers or boss? Okay, Rai already answered that, so at least one should be from the academia. Will I have to indicate po if I'm applying for partial or full scholarship grant, or will that be determined? Well, you need not. You need not. You can, but you need not. That will be taken into consideration by the financial aid committee depending on your circumstances, and of course depending on how many applied for scholarship and how many can be granted, because we, as you can imagine, we have limited resources as well. For parents who have been unemployed for quite some time now, will a certificate? Yes, the certificate of being an indigent can be submitted in lieu of ITR. If the payslip po of one of my parents is in Japanese, do I need to submit a translation of it? For Japanese, maybe yes. But if we can understand it, even if there's no translation of the whole payslip, then that should uh, that should be okay as well. So if we have questions, then that may be asked during the interview. So I think those are all the questions I see. Oops. Why is it that every time I see those are all the questions, something pops up? Regarding pensions po, the sponsor is still processing her pension application. In that case, should I still declare that she has a pension po? Well, just state that there is a pending pension application. Will I need to submit any copies of my electric, water, or rent bills po as proof of expenses? Again, not necessary, but if you like, then you can. Okay, so hopefully this is the last time I will say it. Those are the only questions I see. So maybe just last word, Rai, in behalf of the Financial Aid Committee. We look forward to seeing all of you, if not all of you, in Ateneo. And if it is the tuition and the fees that will prevent you from going to Ateneo, we commit to do all we can so that you will be able to get your law education in Ateneo, even without spending a single centavo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Any Anton, you might have last reminders for everyone. I mean, if any. If not, that's fine.
I guess for me, yeah, just try to do it as soon as you can. And if you have any questions, yeah, you can reach out to me via email.
Okay, thank you, Anton. I am putting back again in the chat box the links and the email addresses I included already. I hope I got the grad admission testing. Okay, that's correct. About for the testing site and the conduct of the tests, related questions such as IDs, etc. Those can be addressed to the Bulatao Center. So the details are again in the chat box. Please take note of them. Including the email addresses that might be relevant depending on your concern. Not everything can be answered by the admissions committee. There are other offices that we will refer you to to whom we will refer you to in case we don't have answers to your question. So for ease of time, you might want to ask your questions directly to them already. So please take note of those. Again, like what was mentioned earlier and as indicated in the website, the deadline for submission of all applications to the program, to the JD program of Ateneo, as well as the financial aid, the aid upon admission, rather, aid upon admission applications is on the 29th of February. So it's like it's like 10 days away from now. So you still have an opportunity to do that. Just make sure, I mean, if your requirements are complete, it should be easy enough to complete the application form. How can I ask how many times are we eligible to take the ALSAT? There's no limit. You can take as as many times as you want per cycle at least. So per admission cycle. So you can only take it once every admission cycle. Yeah. yeah, I just one last point pertaining to recommendations. The details of who can recommend you are also in the website. We've been receiving inquiries also about there's an old version of the application, not application form, of the old recommendation form floating around in the internet. We do not use that anymore. um since last year might be, or 2 years ago, the law school has started to use the online recommendation form on the EduSuite platform. So you can only gain access to that after you have paid the application fee. You only need to provide provide the details of your recommenders or your referees. Particularly important would be the email address, and then the platform will automatically send a link to your nominated recommender or referee. You can monitor as to whether they have submitted your recommendation already using your application account. So you can submit even if the recommendation for letters are not yet all in. You can already submit your you can already submit your applications, completed applications, and we will process these applications. But please take note that as a general rule, you will not get your exam schedule, or you will not be scheduled for an exam unless your at least two recommendations are in your file. Okay? So, yeah, one last thing before we end tonight. If you those of you who are interested to review the session for this evening and want a copy of the recording or a link, please send us an email at admissions.law@ateneo.edu, and we will provide you with the link. We will provide you with the link or the file that you can so that you can access the recording of the orientation this evening. Okay? Sige. So I think it's been almost 2 hours. Thank you so much again on behalf of the law school, the admissions committee, the financial aid committee, and the Bulatao Center for Psychological Services. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Anton, for taking this time out to talk to our prospective applicants. So we end there. We thank you very much, and good luck as you continue to prepare for your admissions test. Thank you.